Hello, once again, pasensya medyo na ano pala na-interrupt yung previous video, no. Supposed to be should be a single video to discuss the first part, this is step 2.1, pero nagkaroon tayo ng technical difficulty with my laptop, no. Ano siya na lobat siya. So I'll just recap what I've said. The this should be a separate video now, so I guess just to recap, no, that what was discussed in the previous video. So we are now at the optional participation on both sides of a one-to-one relationship. So as mentioned, no, arbitrary yung pag in the case na meron tayong optional participation on both sides. Pag sinabing arbitrary, meaning etong staff na to, this can be our parent, and this one will be our child entity. Parent entity, child entity. Or, pwedeng yung staff, yung maging child dito. And the car will be our parent. So, yan yung ibig sabihin ng arbitrary, yung pagpili natin. So, that is why we have two possible options, no, on how we're going to derive relations for this scenario. So, the first one, in this case, yung staff is the parent. And the car is the child. That is why yung staff, kinapi yung primary key niya dito. So, automatic, this staff number right here, in which wala to siya originally sa entity natin dito. So, yun. This is itong staff number na to is a foreign key from the staff number. Inga. Kasi child yung car natin dito. Child entity siya yung car natin. And kung babalik na natin, in which case na yung car na yung parent, yung staff yung child entity, so that is why yung primary key ni car number yung gagawin natin foreign key for the staff. So, ayan. Again, you can, let's say if you're going to encounter this scenario, so either of this one is correct. Now there's also a catch, this is hindi lahat ng situations na kahit optional yung participation on both sides. Let me explain na lang in this next slide, no. So however though, assume that the majority of cars, pag sinabing majority of cars, halos lahat ng cars, no, but not all, no. Again, let's say i-change natin yung scenario, no. Karoon ng changes in the scenario sa requirements, no. And let's say, yun nga, majority of the cars but not all are used by staff. And that only a minority of staff, so meaning kokonti lang sa mga staff yung gumagamit ng car. So if you're going to rephrase this, bale yung nangyari is kokonti lang yung staff yung gumagamit ng car. However, lahat or halos lahat ng cars ay ginagamit ng isang staff. Okay? Halos, no? Kaya nga sinabing majority, not all. In this case, the car entity, although optional, is closer, halos malapit na siya maging closer to mandatory participation than the staff, no. So therefore, since our car entity is close to being mandatory, so automatic ito yung maging child natin. And the staff, since optional yung niya, so this is our parent. So in this case, no, we therefore designate staff as the parent entity and car as the child entity. And same what we did with the third scenario, no, yung sa one to many relationship. So we post a copy of the primary key of the staff into the car relation. Okay, so next we'll proceed with the fifth, uh, which is one-to-one recursive relationships. So for a one-to-one recursive relationships with mandatory participation on both sides, so take note, this is mandatory on both sides. So we represent the recursive relationship as a single relation. Okay, and we will have two copies of the primary key. Kasi yung isang copy ng primary key, magiging ano siya, foreign key. Okay? We have an example naman just no, to visualize yung na-mention dito. No? So let's say we have the following. Kasi recursive nga, no? Pag sinabing recursive relationship, yung entity has a relationship to itself. So kaya nga yung line na to, it connects back to itself kasi nga it represents a recursive relationship. So we also have the following also supervises. So which means if you're going to read this one, staff as a supervisor supervises one and only one supervisee na staff. So yun. And yun nga, as mentioned though, we will have, if we're going to derive a relation for this one, isa lang. No? And so ito yung example niya. So ito, pag i-convert na natin or derive natin yung relation niya, ito na yung equivalent niya. So we just simply list down all the attributes, yung staff number, sorry. So sorry. Kamali ako pag ano. This one. Wala tong dito kasali. Ito lang. So, these three, lagay natin dito. And then, this one right here, this is not originally exist from staff. But, ito yung tinutukoy natin dito na copy of the primary key. So, itong supervisor staff number, this is just a copy of staff number. Ito. Tapos ni-rename natin o pinangalanan natin kasi bawal man na magkaroon ka ng staff number tapos staff number. So we have to rename this one into a different name. So ginawa natin supervisor staff number. So yun. And since it's also mentioned, one copy of the primary key represents a foreign key. Rename. Yeah, ito na. Na-rename na natin. And the other primary key is a foreign key. Kaya we declared here statement foreign key supervisor staff, this one, referencing the staff number dito. So yan. So this is how you're going to represent yung you're going to derive a relation in this scenario, tapos mandatory participation on both sides. Okay, so next we have kung mandatory, what if ganun pa rin, but this time mandatory on only one side. So we have the option to create a single relationship as described previously. Bali, pwedeng yung solution natin ganito pa rin, or you have the other option to create a new relation to represent the relationship. So in this case, magkakaroon tayo ng another additional relation, no? And the new relation would have only two attributes. Dalawa lang. Yung sa panibagong relation natin, dalawa yung attributes niya. Yung, basically, both copies of the primary key. Okay? And then, the copy of the primary key acts as foreign keys and have to be, yung primary key, to, sa new relation, no? Ito yung tinutukoy na foreign keys. This is from the attributes from the new relation, no? And then these attributes na ginawang foreign key will have to be renamed. So that is why we have the following. Okay, this is our original stuff, no? Walang dinagdag na other details. Basically sinulat lang natin yung kung ano yung nakalagay dito, yung pangalan ng entity, yung mga attributes niya, ano yung primary key niya, yun lang yung nilagay natin for the first relation. Ito, yung supervisee, ito yung new relation na tinutukoy dito. This one, okay? The new relation. And so, also, we have the following, itong dalawang attributes to. Ito yung sinasabi na only two attributes, which are both copies of the primary key. Bale, ito, nanggaling, this is just a copy of the staff number here. At saka, sorry, I'll have to point it here pala. And tsaka itong supervisor staff na to, this is just a copy of this staff, right? Number, attribute. Yun. And then, we also have the following statements: foreign key, yung staff number is foreign key, yung supervisor staff number is foreign key. Kasi yun nga, the copies of the primary keys acts as foreign keys. Yun. Tapos, nirename natin, in this case, ito, hindi man pwedeng staff pa rin yung pangalan nito. Kasi we are not allowed to have staff number. Bawal yan, no? So we have to rename the other copies, no, para walang conflict sa pangalan. So yun, that's why this other copy of our primary key, pinangalanan siya as supervisor staff. And if you're wondering bakit may primary key ito, kasi matik na ito, since this staff number is primary key, so galing sa staff, so primary key din siya dapat dito pa rin. So bali nangyari, itong staff number na to, this is primary key and also foreign key at the same time. And for a one-to-one recursive relationship with optional on both sides, so again, create a new relation as described earlier. Bale, yung approach natin for this scenario, parehas lang sa ginawa natin dito sa B. So, eto, again, i-clarify ko lang. You have the option sa letter B, you have the option to create a single relation, kagaya ng ginawa natin dito. Or you can have it this way, dalawang relation. Yun. So, in this scenario, dinescribe, pinakita ko lang sa inyo kung paano gagawin if magkikreate ka ng new relation. So, this is how you're going to do it. No? Sa C, kung ano yung ginawa sa B, no? Ito, whatever was described in the B, dito, parehas pa rin yung gagawin natin for this scenario C of participation on both sides. Okay? So, I hope na hindi kayo nalito nito. Again, whatever was described dito sa B, kung ano yung approach natin, ano yung gagawin natin, is the same also what we're going to do in this scenario sa C. So, optional participation on both sides. Yeah. And next, we have here superclass and subclass relationship types. So, for each subclass and superclass and subclass relationship in the conceptual data model, we identify the superclass entity as the parent entity and yung subclass is yung subclasses are the child entities. So there are various options on how to represent such a relationship as one or more relations. The selection of the most appropriate option is dependent. Okay? The selection depends on the number of factors. So ito yung mga following factors, no? The disjointness and participation constraint on the superclass-subclass relationship, whether the subclasses are involved in distinct relationships, and the number of participants in the superclass-subclass relationship. So, here's an example. This one is, ito yung superclass natin. Okay? So, sorry medyo pangit pa rin. Pangit talaga yung handwriting ko sa using a mouse. This is the superclass kasi automatic na yan, no? Kasi may arrow dito, no? Nakalagay. Since this arrow, this solid white arrow is pointing to this entity, owner, and tsaka this one, this arrow is connected to these two entities. So, therefore, itong dalawa na to, these are subclasses. And according to our statement right here, the superclass is the parent, the subclass or the subclasses are the child entities. So, ito, parent to, ito sila, child. Okay? Child, C, and this one is P. Okay? Shortcut ko lang kasi talang hirap talaga magsulat, no? P, parent, C, child. Okay, so here are the following scenarios, no? So, let's say yung participation constraint, by the way, nakalimutan nga pala, ito to. Bakit may question mark dito? Kasi, remember, in the participation, itong dito sa constraint dito, dalawa kasi yan, the participation constraint and the disjoint constraint. So, there are two possible values here. You know, if you can recall, it's either mandatory or optional. Dito, sa other side, and, tsaka or. So, if you're going to list down how many combinations, these are actually 4 combinations, 4 scenarios. So, the first is, if yung participation constraint is mandatory, yung disjoint constraint is and. So, bali, yung pagkasulat niyan is mandatory. Diba, ano yan, curly brace yan, mandatory. Pasensya na kung pagit yung pagkaano ko. And then, this one is and. So, imagine lang, mandatory, ito yon, and ito yon. So, mandatory and. Okay? So, imagine if you can encounter that scenario, mandatory dito and dito. No? So, single relation. Okay? With one or more discriminators to distinguish the type of each tuple or row. So, we have an example here. Pag sinabing single relation, etong tatlo na to, na entities sa conceptual data model natin, once we extract this or we convert this into a logical data model, magiging isang relation lang siya. So, all owner. No? So, in this example, all owner, this represents the superclass and the subclasses. And then, yung nangyari is, lahat ng mga attributes, ito, they are listed down into this as a single. So kaya itong owner number, owner address, telephone number, this is from the owner na superclass. Itong F name, L name, this is from the private owner. Tsaka yung B name, B type in contact name, this is from the business owner. And then take note also, we have additional, itong nakapula dito, yung P owner flag and B owner flag. Ito yung tinatawag nating na discriminators. So yung na-mention na one or more discriminators, ito yun. Ito yun sila. These are our discriminators. Ay, naka. Ang hirap isulat. Basta discriminators to sila. Okay? And we have in this example, dalawa yung discriminators natin. One is for the private owner and then this one is for the business owner flag. Okay? So bakit ganito? Kasi let's say for example, we're going to insert a owner. If ito may value to, let's say nilagyan natin to ng value nga 1, ito 0. So which means yung in-insert natin na panibagong owner is private owner. Pero pag yung values na nilagay natin is 0, 1. Anyway, yung value nito, this could be anything. Pwedeng integer, pwedeng boolean, pwedeng character. Yung inano ko dito, yung 1, 0, this is example ko lang to. No? Basta yung point ko lang dito is kung alin dito, since for example lang na itong owner tsaka business owner integer, I will implement this as an integer. So yung values nito is either 1 and 0. 1 meaning yun, ito yung that's the type of owner siya. 0 meaning hindi siya ano. So yun nga, pag 1, 0, 1 yung P owner flag, 0 yung B owner flag, so private owner yung in-insert ko na dinagdag ko na owner. Pero pag 01, 0 yung P owner, 0 yung business owner, 1 yung business owner yung in-insert ko na panibagong record. But if 1, 1 siya, it means na this owner or record that I'm trying to insert is both a private owner and a business owner. So ito, pag 1, 1, both yan. Yan yung ibig sabihin. So yeah, ito yung gamit ng discriminator. That's how you can able to identify whenever you insert records sa owner relation mo, table mo. That's how you will be able to identify kung anong klaseng owner siya. Okay? Since and yung natin, so that is why we have the option na pwede nating i-1-1 to indicate na pwedeng both private owner and business owner. Anyway, we have another example na naman. Still with the this scenario. So pwedeng isa lang yung this is also a discriminator pa rin kaya nga highlight ko dito as pula to indicate that this one owner type, this one doesn't exist in the original conceptual data model natin. This is just ito yung tinatawag natin na discriminator. Okay? So this is another approach. This is the first approach kasi we have different ways in approaching this scenario. Ito, kung ilan yung subclasses mo, let's say for example, kung meron ka pang additional dito na subclass, then you should insert another subclass dito. So there should be 3. And in this scenario, isa lang. And this one covers all yung possible values niya. Pag sinabing domain, these are the possible values for this attribute. So owner type can be private, can be business, can be private business, or pwedeng if you have another type of subclass, so pwedeng you insert another one here. Basically ganun. No? Ito yung sabihin itong another way of making a discriminator. No? Yung kanina, yung discriminator mo, yung pag-insert mo ng discriminators na attribute is kung ilan yung subclass mo, yun din yung ilalagay mo. Kung dalawa, dalawa. Kung tatlong subclasses, tatlo. And this one, isa lang talaga. Regardless of how many subclasses yung meron mo. Meron sa ano mo sa superclass mo. So kung tatlo, apat o lima pa yan, isa lang. Diyan lang sila yung magkakaano ka nila dito sa domain mo, sa values dito ka magchi-change. So kung tatlo, so perhaps we have another set of values na naman dito. Kung tatlo yung subclasses mo. Kung apat, more. Mas expected na padami ng padami yung values or domain ng palaki yung domain ng owner type attribute as habang dumadami din yung subclasses dito. Now, since dalawa lang, so that is why ito lang yung possible combination of values. So, private, business, and then both. Private business, so which means both. This owner is both private and business. And then the third one is wala. Wala kang ilalagay na discriminator. Okay? So, para malaman mo kung anong klaseng owner siya, you just simply test whether one of the attributes unique to a particular subclass has a value present. Okay? So, for example, we'll have mahirap magsulat. For example, lahat ng values nito, let's say let us represent null as x para mas madali, no? Let's say for example, ito may value, ito may value, ito may value, ito null, ito null, ito null. So let's say for example you're going to insert a new owner where lahat ng values, lahat ng attributes niya is may values except yung B name, B type, and contact name. Ibig sabihin, this one is a private owner. PO, private owner yan. Ganon. And if let's change, let's have some slight changes. Let's say for example, ito naman yung may null and ito yung may values. So let's say iba yung scenario natin. This time, let's say we're going to insert an owner in which a new owner na record in which lahat ng values ng attributes niya, lahat ng attributes niya may value except yung first name and last name. So automatic, ibig sabihin, itong record na to, yung klaseng owner siya is business owner pala siya. So yun. And let's say lahat ng value, lahat ng attributes, ng i-insert natin na panibagong owner, okay, lahat ng attributes niya is may value, walang null. So which means this is yung in-insert natin is both BO, business owner, and private owner. So ganun. Okay, ito yung ibig sabihin nito. Simply test whether one of the attributes unique to a particular subclass has a value present. Yan. Okay. So yun. Again, there are three ways how you're going to implement to derive a relation in a scenario where yung participation constraint is mandatory, the disjoint constraint is and. So you just you extract or derive a single relation. Sulat mo lang lahat ng attributes and then you insert discriminators, one or more, pwedeng wala. So either way, you can apply this approach, or this approach. Yeah. Okay, so next we have participation constraint, in which optional, and then this joint constraint and. So two relations. So mangyayari is, we will, in deriving the logical data model, dalawa yung relation na ma-derive natin. So one relation for the superclass, and the other relation is for the subclasses. So here's an example. Owner, ito yung sa superclass. Sa superclass to, this one is for all, lahat ng mga subclasses. Okay? And take note, since optional lang, no? Optional lang yung participation constraint natin. That is why etong owner details na to, meron siyang owner number to indicate yeah. And at the same time, itong owner number na to, aside from being a primary key, since this owner number is basically came from this one sa super class natin na, so foreign key siya. Okay? And etong F name, B name, this is from the private owner, PO. And yung B type, contact name. Oh, sorry, na ano ko pala. Sorry. Yung ano lang pala dito, yung eto lang pala. Okay? This F name and P name, these are the attributes from the private owner. Etong tatlo na to, this is from the business owner. And then same, etong P owner flags, B owner flags, this is just the same as what we did kanina. Eto. Okay? Now, if you're asking if yung ginawa dito is pwede man nating i-apply sa what we did, let's say, pwede man ganito din. Isa na lang yung discriminator niya, or pwedeng wala. So, yeah, pwede. Pero, yun nga, ang nangyari is, meron tayong dalawang, instead of combining all the subclasses in superclass into a single relation, so sineparate siya. We have a relation dedicated for superclass only, and then ito yung combined, no? Pag-combine ng lahat ng mga subclasses. And which yun nga, we just copy the primary key sa superclass natin, and then lahat ng mga attributes ng mga subclasses, kinombine lang natin. Then we add discriminators. And then, yun. Next, we have participation constraint, mandatory, disjoint constraint, or. So, many relations. Okay? Hindi siya two relations, many relations. So, bakit many relations? We'll explore into that later. Bali, yung ibig sabihin nito, one relation for each combined superclass, subclass. So, bali, mangyayari nito is, going back sa example, no? Yung owner, private owner, kung combine mo yan, you have another first relation. Yung owner, business owner, combine mo yan, you have another relation. And if you have another subclass, so combine mo yan, we have another relation. So, bali, ang ibig sabihin lang nito, kung ilan yung subclass mo, no? Kung dalawa yung relations na ma-derive mo. Pero kung tatlo yung subclasses mo, tatlo yung magiging relations mo. At kung apat yung relations mo. Yun. So, ito yung ibig sabihin nito. And here's an example of that. So, in this case, since dalawa lang man yung subclass natin, so dalawa yung relations natin. So, private owner, this one here, kaya sinabing combined, no? Kasi this one came from the owner superclass, and this one is from the private owner superclass. Itong attributes na to, itong tatlo, from the owner superclass, ito sa private owner nga subclass. Nilagay lang yung mga attributes nila, and yun, these are the attributes for this private owner na relation. Okay. Then business owner, again, we have the following attributes. This is for the owner, and these three right here is from the attributes from the business owner. So yun. So if meron pa tayong subclass, supposed to be dapat meron pa rin tayong additional sana dito. So since dalawa man lang, so yeah, that's why ito yung result. And next we have participation constraint, optional disjoint constraint, or so may relations pa rin, one relation for superclass and one for each subclass. Okay. So, bali yung nangyari is, ganun pa rin, but, since optional kasi yung natin yung participation constraint. So, that is why we extracted a relation. This one is exclusive for this superclass. And the rest, let's say kung dalawa yung subclass mo, so you have another two additional also relations. So yan, parang halos parehas lang siya sa solution natin dito, except na, di ba, for example, ito yung owner number. Yung pinagkaiba lang is for the other relations, let's say itong private owner na to, yung kinapi lang yung yung primary key, and then nilagay lang kinumbine lang with the attributes from the private owner na entity, and yun, we have a relation private owner. Okay, then same with this business owner, kinapi lang, nagkopya lang tayo ng sorry, medyo this is supposed to be basta alam niyo na yung ibig sabihin ko. Bale, itong business owner na to na relation, yung owner number to, this was just a copy of our primary key galing sa superclass natin, kasi again, yung superclass is our parent entity, and the child entity just simply copies the primary key of its parent. So yun, so owner number, and then itong B name, B type, and contact name, this is just from the attributes from the business owner entity, and yun, these four attributes will serve as the entity, the attributes for this business owner na relation, and primary key, foreign key, owner number. Yep. Okay, so we have a different scenario na naman. Let's say, what if yung superclass mo, isa lang yung subclass niya? So in this case, for example, ito, staff, sorry, ano pala to? I think, tama, sorry. Staff, this is the superclass, and the supervisor is just a subclass. So, bali nangyari is, this subclass, supervisor, supervises its the superclass na staff. So this is a superclass subclass relationship between staff and supervisor with optional participation. However, as the staff superclass only has one subclass, there are no disjoint constraints. And in this case, as there are many more supervised staff than supervisors, we choose to represent this relationship as a single relation. So kaya kinumbine lang natin yung subclass tsaka yung superclass. into a single relation. So staff. Yan. And okay. Okay, so next we have many to many binary relationship types. So this time tapos tayo sa one to many, then we're also done with the one to one. Now we're at the many to many binary relationship types. So for each, ganito yung mangyayari. First is for each binary relationship, create a relation to represent the relationship and include any attributes that are part of the relationship. No? So bale, let's say 'di ba binary relationship siya, 'di ba? Tapos many to many. So yung mangyayari is from two entities, rather than having two relations, magkakaroon ka ng a total of three relations. From two entities, magiging three relations siya. No? Kasi yun nga, according here, create a relation. And that relation will represent the relationship. And if yung relationship na yun may attributes, that will also be part of this new relation na i-create. Then we post a copy with the primary key attributes of the entities that participate in the relationship into the new relation to act as foreign keys. One or both of these foreign keys will also form the primary key of the new relation, possibly in combination with one or more of the attributes of the relationship. Now, if this looks vague, no, nakakalito, we have an example naman. No? So in this scenario, we have a relationship between the client and the property for rent entities. And as you notice, this is a many-to-many relationship type, no? Kasi may asterisk dito, hindi naman porket as it, let's say number to siya, let's say 100 or 10. As long as it's more than one, it's already considered as a many-to-many relationship. So yan, we also have the views relationship, in which yung views relationship meron siyang attributes. Okay, the views relationship has the following attributes: view date and comment. So therefore, yung mangyayari is ganito. Okay? First, ano man describe ito? For each binary relationship, create a relationship. So ito. Ito yung bagong relationship. Take note, we have yung client tsaka yung property for rent galing to dinerive lang sila dito. This came from itong client, this came from this one, this entity. This relation, property for rent, came from this one, and this relation is a new relation bago to. Tapos include any attributes that are part of the relationship. Nas itong view date at comment na to, ilalagay natin to dito sa viewing. Kaya we have here the view date and comment attributes that comprises this new relation na tinawag nating viewing. No? Ito galing to sa dito. Okay? And then we post a copy of the primary key attributes of the entities into the new relation. So therefore, etong primary key na to, yan. Tsaka itong primary key na to, lagay natin dito. So, yeah. So, kaya we have, for this new relation, it also has additional attributes, client number and property number. And they serve as foreign key. No, di ba? I mentioned dito, foreign key. As described right here. Yeah. Okay. And then last statement, one of these foreign keys, one or both pala, will form as the primary key of the new relation. Kaya, as napapansin, kung napansin nyo, primary key, client number, no? itong client number at property number na naging foreign key for this new relation, ginawa silang primary key. So kaya we have here this additional statement primary key right here. So yan, this is how you're going to create or derive the new relation, for this if in case na many to many yung binary relationship type, no. And then next we have complex relationship type. For each complex relationship, create a relation to represent the relationship and include any attributes that are part of the relationship. We post a copy of the primary key attributes of the entities that participate in the complex relationship into the new relation to act as foreign keys. Any foreign key that represents a many relationship generally will also form the primary key of this new relationship, a new relation, possibly in combination with some of the attributes of the relation. So, here's an example of a complex relationship. If naalala nyo, pag sinabing complex relationship, this is, we have in which yung entities in a relationship bali, the number of entities involved in the relationship could be 3, 4, 5, or more, no? So in this example, tatlo yung entities na involved for this relationship. So that's why this is considered as a complex relationship. So that is why this is how we're going to create the relations. So etong stuff, this was just derived from here. The branch came from here. Okay, kung ano yung mga nakalagay dito. Client, this also came here. Okay, and then we have a new relation. So ito, dito siya existing from, this one doesn't exist from the from here, no? Kasi according here, create a relation to represent the relationship. So, yung relationship natin registers. So, that is why yung bagong relation na kinrate at pinangalanan siya as registration. Okay? And ganun pa rin, same sa nangyari kanina sa number 7, this date join, okay? Galing yan dito sa attribute ng relationship. And then by the way, hindi lahat, it's not all the time na may attribute yung relation, no? Kung wala siyang attribute, so wala kang idadagdag dito. As simple as that. Okay? What you need na mandatory talaga na ilalagay mo sa new relation is the primary key of each entities. So yung client number, eto man, branch number, bakit nagkaroon to, galing yan dito. Yung staff number, galing yan dito. Yan. Okay? And this one, matic na yan. Since galing man siya, itong client, itong mga attributes to, galing to from another relation. So, foreign key siya. And then, yung pinili dito, in this case, client number, branch number, itong foreign keys na to, they were chosen as the primary key for this relation. Okay? Okay, and last we have multi-valued attributes. So for example, a single branch has up to 3 telephone numbers. So for example, no. Kasi 'di ba, ang branch ay could have let's say for example sa school, no. Or even sa time, no. Matic na yan, no? Pag sinabing telephone number, multi-valued yan. No? Kasi it is possible for a certain individual or for a certain branch to have more than one telephone number. Ayun. So, in this example, a single branch has up to 3 telephone numbers. Telephone number attribute of the branch entity has been defined as being a multi-valued attribute. Yeah. So, to represent this, we create a relation for the branch entity. Okay? And we create a new relation called telephone to represent the multi-value attributes telephone number to give the following, this one. So itong telephone na relation na to, galing yan dito. Because this one is multi-valued. Okay? Again, if may encounter kayong multi-valued na attribute, gawan mo yan ng relation. Tapos, yung attributes for this new relation, simply yung yung multi-value attribute, tsaka yung primary key kung saan to siya na entity galing. So, since telephone number is attribute of the branch entity, so that's why yung primary key ng branch entity yung nilagay dito. Additional. So, for a total of 2 attributes for this new relation telephone. And matik na ito, this multi-value attribute is our primary key, and this one is our foreign key, referencing the branch number. And I guess this is the last portion. So let's say you're done with everything. So you're going to document the relations and foreign key attributes. So at the end of the 2.1, let's say naubos mo na lahat ng mga relations sa conceptual data model mo. So you're going to document the composition of the relations derived for the logical data model using the DBDL. By the way, itong mga ito DBDL ang tawag niyan. Okay? Baka kaya yung ibig sabihin ng DBDL? Ito yung mga DBDL. Yung mga na-describe natin for each example. Ito DBDL. Yeah. In general. Yeah. DBDL. Asan na yan? So yan nga, document the composition of the relations derived for the logical data model using the DBDL. The DBDL syntax can be extended to show integrity constraints on the foreign key. So, pag sinabing extended, kasi pagkatapos nito, it is expected na hindi mo pa sinali yung mga integrity constraints. So, this integrity constraints will be added to our original list of relations once we reach the step 2.5. So later, darating din tayo with the step 2.5 so which is also part pa rin ng logical building a logical data model. Bali yung mangyayari is after the step 2.5, yung original natin na mga relations, madadagdagan siya ng integrity constraints. And also, the data dictionary should also be updated to reflect any new primary and alternate keys identified in this step. So, that ends this step 2.1. So, as I mentioned, medyo mahaba talaga kasi this is an extensive explanation of all possible scenarios na may encounter in your conceptual data model, and then yun nga, papaano mo ba sila i-convert, i-derive into a logical data model. So yeah, we have able to discuss that for this step 2.1, and on the next video we'll proceed with the rest of these steps. So proceed that time with the step 2.2 and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's all for this video, and thank you for listening and watching, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.